Welcome to What the Health? Where anything health is fair game as we tackle the trends and bust the myths about health and wellness. Here are your hosts, Dr. Dan and Angela Toro.
And welcome to another episode of What the Health. I am Dr. Dan here with my co-host,
Angela. Welcome back, everyone. We'll get that disclaimer out of the way real quick. As you know, we are here for informational purposes only, in no way offering individualized medical advice. Always talk to your trusted healthcare provider before making changes to your life or lifestyle. So with that being said, with this time of year, we got to talk about it.
Flu Season Fallacy.
So we are headed into the oh-so-dreaded flu season.
She had her quotes
Which I did have my air quotes out.
Yes, air quotes, flu season.
Yes, the oh-so-dreaded flu season, cold and flu season.
Yep.
Which, again, there's no doubt that people get more sick this time of year.
Yes, we have to understand why.
Yes, so we're not saying that there aren't increased cases of colds and flus this time of year, but the idea that it's just an inevitability that, I'm just doomed to get, to be sick through these colder months, that is the fallacy, because we need to understand why this is happening.
Yeah. Well, you just mentioned colder months, and that's the first point. So we're going to go through 5 points as to why this idea that we're just doomed to get sick, over the next 6 months with, colds, flus, digestive issues, whatever the case may be, that we're just doomed. It's not the case. And so we're going to go over 5 points as to why this, quote unquote flu season, is actually a thing. And you mentioned, so the first thing is the colder weather, right? So what happens, rhinoviruses are actually more active. Those are the, your head cold, your congestion, your sinus congestion, a lot of times are rhinoviruses, and they are more active in colder weather. And again, there's probably different types. I am not a virologist.
Yeah.
I do not get into the disease. I always am focused on how does your body respond to these things. So I don't care what the type of virus is, because your body basically has a mechanism to fight it. So rhinoviruses are more active when it's cold outside. So a lot of times when you're, especially if you're outside for like a soccer game, if you're, outside doing an activity, all these fall festivals, which again, get out, get the pumpkins, get the apples. Like, it's a beautiful time to be outside. I love it. But it is colder. And so, you get that, nice little, red nose and red cheeks, rosy nose and cheeks, because you've been outside for a couple hours, and, you get nice cool temperature. Well, that activity, in the nose and in the sinuses with the rhinoviruses that are present, it becomes a little bit more challenging, not impossible, but maybe more challenging, because of the number and because of like the replication. So it's something called your viral load, right? So if they're more active during cooler weather, maybe they're replicating faster. Well, if there's a higher viral load, just think of it in terms of, an army, an army that has 10,000, people versus, 300, typically, you would want to be on the side of the 10,000. Now, we know there's hundreds of incidences in history that, that wasn't the case. If you haven't seen the movie 300, definitely recommend it. Fantastic movie. But anyway, if you have a lot more of a viral load, then again, it just makes it, more difficult, just makes it more difficult for your body to fight that off. So that's point number 1, is the cooler weather.
I feel like I'm about to go out of order, but I feel like that naturally leads into the being inside more. So it's getting colder outside. So we're having this increased viral load, but now we're also cooped up inside with these people that have now been exposed and carrying that viral load.
Yes. So whether it's your children or your spouse or, family, friends. So you're cooped up inside. So 2 things with that. Obviously, with cold weather, we're not sunbathing anymore. Yeah. So, you get plenty of sunlight because, and we've talked about this in another episode, but with the inclination of the sun, we start, the equator is, we are moving in the northern hemisphere away from the sun right now.
We have officially shifted. When it was pitch black when we were leaving at 7 o'clock last night, I'm like, and it happened.
gets really bad when it's 5 o'clock.
I know. We're not there yet.
We're not there yet, but we are. Yes, we've already passed the equinox, so we are headed to every day from here until the solstice. We are getting darker and darker. So, so not only the cooler weather, we have warm clothes on, so we're not getting skin exposure to the sun, but also the inclination of the sun. The Earth is literally at a less steep of an angle to the sunshine, so we're not getting the direct rays because we're covered up, and even if we weren't covered up, it's not as penetrating because the sun isn't directly above us like it is in the summertime. It's more at a steeper angle. So
we're not getting that the vitamin D and the benefits of the sun, and then we're stuck inside, and it's this time of year. I'm still that crazy person that has the windows open during the day, but most people, I would say, have the windows closed and probably even have the heat on at this point. So now you're getting that recirculated air where you're just essentially breathing those viruses around, and they're just circulating back through over and over and over and getting blasted out. On top of if you live in like the lovely city of Pittsburgh where the air quality is not the best, now you're talking about whatever's in the ducts getting mixed in with. So I always notice when the AC's on or the heat's on, that's when I feel at my worst. Like when I don't have like the fresh air, I just immediately feel like just something's not right.
Yeah. Well, and again, in the in the summertime, even if the AC's on, because it's super hot, you can still go outside and get more fresh air. If it's 10, 20 degrees outside, and the heat's on, you're not necessarily going to run outside.
Just
just to be outside. Although it is healthy to go out and get your fresh air rather than being cooped up. So, in fact, I've actually read stories in certain countries, northern I've heard it in the country of Russia, but it might be true for other like northern European countries. But they let their kids, like preschool kids, go out, with very little clothing for a couple minutes in the snow, and that stimulation. We've talked about that in another episode.
Talk to Mike from the gym. He goes he'll go out and lay in the snow.
Yeah, absolutely, and that stimulation again, it's. So much.
No, again, you need to stop before the point of getting into like frostbite or hypothermia. But yes, those short bursts of cold, absolutely.
Yes, it's very good. Yeah, I'll walk out and I'll take the trash out of my bare feet, and I'll walk out and take the dog out, and and I'll just have like shorts and t-shirt on for my PJs, and you walk out in the cold, and again, the more you can stimulate your body to those extremes, hot and cold, the better you are. So, back to the circulating air. So we're inside, we're getting less sunshine. We have recirculating air. By the way, make sure that you change your filters.
Yes.
You should, if you have a filtered, central air system, you should change your filter every 6 months. So basically before the spring, spring and fall. Before each season change there. So make sure that,
especially around here. I mean, it's anywhere, but again, you really got to pay attention to the air quality of where you live, and
yes. So it does make a difference, and so. I haven't changed mine yet.
Yeah, I was like, speaking of which, Dr. Dan needs to run off for a second.
I'll be back. But so we talked about definitely colder. And again, it's not just the recirculating air of viruses, but as you mentioned, the quality of air. So if you have dust particles, your body, as its primary defense system, forms mucus. Okay. Well, if it's if all of that mucus has to fight, and there's white blood cells in that mucus. Okay. So that the mucus is designed to trap. It's a physical defense barrier. It is, one of the primary defense systems, of the immune system. Your skin is a physical defense barrier. Your mucous membranes are physical defense barriers. But if it's so concentrated on like dust particles that are in the air, well, then there's less attention to the virus particles. The virus particles are obviously smaller than dust. And so, then, if all your mucus is dedicated to that dust with recirculating air, then, the possibility of virus particles penetrating deeper and actually causing an active infection. And that's, I think we have to understand the difference, between healthy response to, to viruses, versus like an actual infection, because so many of us, like I get congested this time of year,
I'm sniffly.
It happens. You're blowing nose, but it very, I don't want to say never.
Yeah.
it very rarely reaches the point to where it's like an actual systemic infection where I actually spike a fever. And again, all that is the virus penetrating a little deeper into your system. That's a fever, sorry, where was I getting at? A temperature increase in your body, a fever, is another line of immune defense. So if the virus has gotten past the physical defense of your, skin and your mucous membranes, well now, that immune system, it's called your non-specific cell-mediated immune system, starts to it just recognizes a foreign invader. We haven't gotten down to the immune, response where it's like, or the antibody response system where you actually have like, oh, this specific virus, and the body recognizes that specific virus and matches it with the antibodies. No, it's actually your cell mediated is non-specific. So those are all the macrophages, which are a type of white blood cell, just like your, antibodies are produced by different types of white blood cells. So your macrophages are just going around. They're recognizing that this is not part of our body. This is not part of our system. So we're just going to go eat it up. Well, that is part of your immune response system. So if it gets past that mucous membrane, now you're going to start having macrophages engaged. But very rarely, in my case, because I have a strong, cell-mediated immune system, because it's been activated throughout the years, those viruses don't get to that next layer, and it doesn't become a systemic infection where it's like, okay, now you actually have like the painful sinuses, you're inflamed, maybe you get some of that drip down into the chest, and you actually, develop like a bronchitis, and and actually again have an active infection from those viruses. That rarely happens, and I think it's your case too, right?
Yeah,
because again, the sniffles, that doesn't mean you're sick. That's your body's natural, normal response to cold, to
you walk outside on a cold morning, your nose is going to start running.
Exactly.
You're not sick.
Yeah.
You're just it's just.
So that's a very, very strong point that we have to make is like sometimes this time of year, I know I've been sneezing a lot over the last couple of days. And again, it's just leaves are starting to change. We have big sycamore trees outside of our office, and I know I'm sensitive to those branches and to those leaves that are falling off, and so it's like all of that stuff are environmental irritants, but my body is recognizing it as foreign. It's creating the mucus and it's trying to get it out. And so through blowing my nose and through sneezing, it's trying to get it out. Doesn't mean I'm sick. It's the body's natural immune response to those environmental stimulants. So it's important that we recognize that if you have a strong immune system, your body is able to fight that stuff off to the point where you never get an active infection. I mean, that was the same argument in COVID, right? Having the COVID virus versus actually a COVID-19 infection, or having a coronavirus, stimulation versus actually, progressing far enough to a COVID-19 infection that landed you in the hospital. Massive difference, The majority of the world population all got exposed to COVID, right? At this point, the percentage of people that actually developed a COVID-19 infection that landed them, so severely, that they ended up in the hospital. I mean, a fraction of a percentage. So, that's the difference of how far those viruses penetrate in, and that depends on your immune system. Well, what decreases your immune system as we go into the holidays?
Oh man, sugar season.
Here we go.
I mean, I feel like it's been a little while since I talked about sugar, but
right.
But yes, we are definitely what we said.
We're headed right to the first holiday.
What Halloween we got? Halloween through I forget what you said, Easter or something.
Yeah. So you got Halloween, and then you've got you got all your pies and your sweet. We
head into the fall baked goods. You just asked the question yesterday: apple or pumpkin? What's your preference?
And I literally meant flavor. So many people took it as pie. I'm like, I went to that that big coffee chain the other day, and they had a new flavor out. It was like apple oatmeal something. I had to get it. Of course. But actually, I was literally looking at the grams of or the calories on it. It had the lowest calories of all the other drinks. Yeah, it was still a sweet drink, but it wasn't like the 500 calories sugar drinks. It was tasty, but anyway, you have all of these sweet desserts and drinks and everything coming up. So it's increased sugar. So you got Halloween. A couple weeks later, you go right into your Thanksgiving. And again, how often do we have leftovers? So it's not like you're just having pie on one day. It's like, oh no, we have leftovers. So now we have pie like 3 days, 4 days, a week in a row. And it's like, oh, no wonder I feel like crap. Yep. Then we go right into Christmas.
Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, all that. All the winter holidays.
All the winter holidays. And then, New Year's.
New Year.
New Year. We got to celebrate. So
we got to drink. Let's make some sugary cocktails.
Yeah, sugary cocktails. Absolutely. It's funny. I mentioned that the other night. We were out with some friends, and it's like not that I recommend this, but like I could sit. We've had this conversation before. I could sit and drink, several drinks of straight bourbon, and feel absolutely fine the next morning.
Yep.
You start mixing like sugar into make sugary mixed drinks, and I will feel like absolute crap. Like even wine anymore, like wine and beer, I don't have a great reaction to just because of the extra sugars in those. And I just straight bourbon for some reason it's like no problem. But anyway, so you got New Year's. And then you Valentine's Day, a couple weeks after that. So you got your, your sweethearts and chocolates and, all the candy that's around Valentine's Day. And then you go right into the drinking holiday of St. Patrick's Day. And then finally we head into spring, and it's like, okay, we can chill for a minute and we go back outside. So can you see, it's like literally over the next 6 months, there's a holiday once a month. And again, we all know, and we're all guilty of this. We all know that, all those candies, like, okay, my lovely wife just bought some Halloween candy for the neighborhood for trick or treating. Well, how many households, I'm gonna sneak one of those, or I'm just gonna get an extra bag, and that's gonna be my bag. And so it's like, it's not that it's a one day thing. It's like it's stretched over the week before and the week after.
Well, plus, never mind all the candy your children are gonna come home with. The pillowcases full.
Throwing it out this year.
So sugar it just directly impacts the immune system. Everything that you just talked about. So with the white blood cells,
it slows down the activity of white blood cells.
Yes, exactly. So it's not just we're not just saying sugar. It's not just a calorie thing. It directly impacts that immune system, especially that first response of the immune system. So that's the correlation. We see this increase in sugar, and your immune system response is going to drop. So then, coupled with everything we were just talking about, now you're around more people inside, more exposure. It's just like we said. Perfect storm of
higher activity, a viral load.
Yep. So now you put all that sugar on top of it. Yeah. I guarantee you, first week of January, I was like, I can clock it. I'm gonna be sick. It's like, because no matter how good intentions I have, it's still, I eat pretty much no sugar on a regular basis. So then even the even the little bit of extra, it wrecks me. It really wrecks me. So it's like every year I go in with the best intentions, and then your darn wife's such a good baker. She did me in. It started with Friday the 13th this year. She made that dirt dessert, which was absolutely my weakness in life. Cool Whip and Oreos. Come on.
That was probably one of the lighter desserts.
It was delicious. Yes. But again, it's, heading into that. And then I'd say the other thing that directly impacts the immune system, which is activity. Yep. We see this huge increase of sugar, and then we're seeing a huge decrease in physical activity.
Yeah. So we're outside less.
Less yard work, less, running around with the kids at the park, and, just kind of
swimming.
the natural activities that come. And then people just seem to get less motivated for, going to the, do I really want to drive to the gym? I have to, clean my car off. It's dark. Yeah. Oh my gosh. That does it for me. Big time.
I've said that before. The temperature is not an issue.
Yeah. I can do getting up earlier is easier. Like by the end of the day, when we're leaving the office at 7 o'clock, I went home, I was in bed at 8. I'm like, this time of year kills me with the dark evenings. It's just, I do. I have no motivation. Like once it's dark, I'm like, I don't want to go out. I don't want to see people. people.
Angela is actually a vampire.
I'm the opposite of a vampire. They like the dark.
That's true. Yeah.
I'm a bear. I just want to hibernate this time of year.
There you go.
But it's funny because you mentioned about how I don't tend to go into full-blown sickness either. And it's interesting because, I've noticed the one thing that really helps is the activity. So when I feel myself kind of in that I'm kind of sniffly, kind of, maybe trying to clear some stuff out of my lungs. But I'm like, I don't really feel sick. I'm like, go work out. Even if it's not a great workout, go. And I always feel better after.
Sweat it out.
Always. It's like, unless I'm actually full-blown sick, those are the workouts where I'm like, nope, I need to be in bed. And that's where I can really tell the difference between what my body needs.
Yeah, and that's where, again, you become very in tune with it. And that, it helps when the more you, stress your body in a healthy way, that, the more in tune you get with it. So, yes, there's a difference between pushing through. I remember listening to a doctor at one point in time. They talked about, if it's just stuck up, if it's just like the sinus, the congestion, it's like it's staying in the head, you've got some of the runny nose. It's like, push through it, go work. But like if it's actually down in the chest and you're like, you've got that heavy, productive cough, like that's probably where you might not want to push it too much.
Exactly.
But again, also the types of works out. We've talked about activity versus exercise, like, just going for a nice walk, it can be very stimulating to your parasympathetic system, versus actually going and training super hard. So again, you might need to, dial in your activity and exercise over this time of year. So,
and then, and if you're like our family where it's like, okay, even though we all live fairly close and see each other all the time, it's like, oh, it's the holidays, we now have to see each other all the time. So if your social calendar gets much busier this time of year, then again, just, you have to sort of plan ahead and take that, if you're going to be traveling, figure out, is there, a gym where you're going, or are there things you can do at home, or get out and go for a walk when you're, after your big holiday meal.
I remember going to our uncle's house and, growing up. And so a lot of us would go out and we would chop firewood, and we would have this family gathering. I mean, that's a massive activity. And again, it was fun. We were a teenager.
They had an indoor pool, so we would swim.
So it's like, there's lots of ways that you can be active, even through the holiday.
I know. I know. Erin mentioned you guys like to find hotels that have a pool so that the kids can again burn
off the energy.
Burn some energy. So just finding, it might look different than your summer, warmer month activities, but find something that's going to keep you active, because that's one of the other, huge benefits. Physical activity has a positive benefit on the immune system. So, with that coupled increased sugar, decreased physical activity, it's a really bad effect on that immune response.
Absolutely. So did we hit all our points?
Our last one was stress.
Good old stress.
Because no one gets stressed this time of year.
The holidays, we understand. I mean, it can be a tough time on a lot of people, especially if you've lost someone close to you, over the holidays. If
your family's all over the place,
or your family's far away. We understand it's definitely a tough time. So, in a previous podcast that we just recorded, actually, we talked about the deep breathing, right?
Yeah.
And, using that to help mitigate the stress response. But you just talked about activity, and,
that's another great way
helps to keep the stress down. But yes, this can be a very, high anxiety time of year. So, again, it's about the mindfulness, do you need to go get that last gift? Do you need to get that wrapping? Does your house need to be absolutely pristine?
Is anyone going to notice if the one side dish is missing?
Exactly.
The little things that we stress over.
I have to remind my wife about that constantly.
There will be plenty.
It's like, really? You think
no one will
that
starve.
Side dish?
No one will
starve. And yes, we can feed a small country with the amount of food that she makes.
Yeah, and I would even couple the increased stress with sleep quality as well, because again, this time, especially if you're less active, then that's going to impact sleep. Now, some people like me, I want to hibernate, but sometimes that doesn't necessarily, because you're in bed longer, it still might not be good quality sleep. So I've noticed, I talked to some people this week, they're like, I'm tired, but I don't feel like I'm sleeping well. And I think it's that transition of the difference in the daylight, the difference in temperatures, the difference in activity levels, all of that really starts to impact that sleep quality, which we know, again, is super, crucial for your immune system working properly as well. That's why when we do start to feel sick, we want to sleep because that's what our body needs.
Yes, exactly.
So I always tell people this time of year, that's again, like, if you're tired at 8 o'clock, go to bed. Yeah. I'm sitting there, I was like, I'm like, there's no reason, no reason for me to be up. I can. So I was like, did I wake up at 5? Yeah, but who cares? I mean, if I had pushed myself to stay up till 10 just because I could have, it could have been a poor night's sleep. So it's, listening to your body. It's, if there's there's no reason you have to be up. It's natural to feel more tired this time of year. That's just the circadian rhythm, responding to the shift in daylight. So
yeah, we're slowing down.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So instead of fighting it and feeling like you have to get cram everything into the day, it's like, if you're feeling tired, just go to bed and get a good night's sleep. And it can really, even just one good restorative night's sleep can really help do wonders. So
yeah, that's what, Erin, we try and get my lovely wife one good night's sleep a week with the kiddos. It's like, and she always gives me the look too, because she'll hit that capacity of 3 or 4 nights in a row, just like terrible sleep. The kids come into bed, and I sleep like a freaking rock. So it's like I don't wake up, or even if I do stir, it's like I'm up and like, huh, and then I'm like back to snoring again. So it's like, but there are, she hits a point of no return where it's like, if she doesn't get a good night's sleep, we all suffer. Yes, we all suffer, especially me. I'm going to die. So she, so it's a matter of hopefully if you are in a relationship, listen to your spouse and be able to, help them out, recognize the signs that they might need. So it's like I took the kids and she got like a 2-hour nap the other day, and it was like, and then she still got a really good night's sleep that night. So, because sometimes when you're overexhausted and you can't fall asleep, it's like I need to sleep. You're in this vicious cycle and you can't do it. So she actually, she slept like 2 hours, Sunday afternoon, and then we had our massages scheduled, and then,
that was
and then she was out. So
that all goes with the stress and sleep. I think tend to really go hand in hand. But so I would say that was our 5 factors for the perfect storm of flu.
So the cold weather, obviously, but again, get out and enjoy the cold weather. There's nothing wrong with it, but understand that, having the sniffles is part of just an increased viral load and your body responding to that environmental stimuli. So it's okay, but just recognize that they are more active this time of year. Being inside, less light, recirculating air, it all combined. Sugar, you gotta watch the sugar intake and try and look at different alternatives. Don't put the mixed drinks in. Try and find something that you enjoy. Every other drink, adult beverage versus water. Keep yourself cleaned out that way. What we got?
Exercise
and activity, and then
stress and sleep.
Stress and sleep. Be mindful of that, and again, just find those little moments that you can take proactive steps and celebrate that throughout this time of year. I'll always hit a point where it's just like, no, I'm tired of, I don't need to eat that. I'm done. And
I will say our family's gotten much better over the years of realizing okay, we don't need all of this, but again, it's it's gonna happen. Again, it's just listening to your body, being mindful, and recognizing that if you do start to feel a little off, do the thing, get the sleep, get the activity, do the things you can, because you can very well stop it from progressing to that full blown, laid out illness. So
awesome. Well, hopefully you found this helpful. If any of this resonates with you or you need more information, do not hesitate to reach out. A lot of information on our website, Turo, Turo, familychiropractic.com. I am Dr. Dan.
Here with Angela. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next time.
See you at the next one.
You've been listening to What the Health with Dr. Dan and Angela Toro, brought to you by Toro Family Chiropractic. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.whatthehealth.world.